How lovely it would be for this moment to last forever. I wish I could hold on to this time we have stolen, that you and I could create a world without end.
You should be ashamed of yourself. This is not something you should be attracted to. Quality 10 out of 10 waifu right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Rhea seems to be a character that is largely disliked by most of the community, and to be honest, it's easy to see why. She can be highly zealous and judgmental, and she's committed a series of immoral acts to reach her goals in the story. But I think in looking more deeply into her character, anyone can realize that she's a more sympathetic character than some might think, even if she ends up being a tragic villain in all of the game routes. When the player first meets Rhea, they can clearly see her officious and serene personality traits in her reports to Byleth each month. But in interacting with Rhea more personally, the player can come to know that she expresses such traits only to properly fit the role of an archbishop. Rhea reveals in her sea support with Byleth that most of her personality is fabricated to fit that role, and she expresses a desire to simply be Rhea so that she can stop acting and can finally be herself. This characterization is actually similar to Edelgard in her supports with Byleth. Edelgard tells Byleth that the role of being emperor might have caused her to grow cold and distant, but Byleth allows her to simply be herself. It seems like Rhea has that same desire for an open relationship, but it's just as difficult for her to find such a connection as it is for Edelgard. A prominent trait of Rhea's that can sometimes be lost, especially when playing through the Crimson Flower route, is her genuine compassion for others. This is exemplified in her relationship with Cyril, where in describing what she means to him, he'll tell Byleth that,
"But I'm real grateful for everything Lady Rhea's done for me. I've heard people say that good folks have a heart of gold. Not real gold, I mean. Just they always care about everybody else. Even guys like me. Lady Rhea's incredible."
And he'll give a similar perspective when talking to Claude.
"Did you just say you're all about saving people who are oppressed? Really?"
I did. Is it so strange to hear that from me?
"It's just, you reminded me of Lady Rhea there for a second. Lady Rhea always tried to save us folks without any status in the world. Like when she let an outsider like me stay at the monastery. That was real nice. She brought in those kids from Ramire village when they lost their parents, and..."
Well, I'm not a religious man. I'm sure Rhea wouldn't want to be lumped in with a guy like me.
"Lady Rhea didn't do those things because the goddess told her she should. She did it because she wanted to. I can tell you that."
Cyril shows while Rhea has committed a series of immoral acts as Archbishop, she still does serve as a beacon of hope and compassion to many within Fodlan. Finally, Rhea seems to have some psychological problems resulting from her past trauma in dealing with Nemesis and the Agarthans. Rhea seems to have issues with attachment, particularly in her pursuit to get her mother back and her unbridled rage at Byleth's betrayal in the Crimson Flower route.
So, this is the choice you have made. You are just another failure. Your presence soils this holy tomb and disgraces my brethren. I will not allow one who would lend our enemies strength to wield the power of the goddess Sothis.
Her attachment issues are likely resultant from the rapid destruction of everything she cared about through betrayal, and she probably has such an outrageous reaction to Byleth's betrayal because it's as if her own mother betrayed her. Rhea extends this outrage to any humans who betray her, such as in the Crimson Flower route, when she tells Edelgard,
No matter your reasons, I cannot permit you to go on living any longer.
And comments in Ferdiad how,
I see that the years have not cured humanity of its folly. You still wish to hurt and betray my mother and myself. You humans are the ones who betrayed. You betrayed me, and you betrayed my mother!
Rhea also seems to have a similar mental degenerative problem as many other dragons in the Fire Emblem series, known as the Manakete, that would cause them to go from benevolent figures to destructive monsters. It seems likely given her irrational desires and her lack of self-control later in the game, particularly during the Silver Snow route, where she goes ballistic and inadvertently causes destruction at Garreg Mach. But to understand why Rhea created the church and how she got to be the way that she is, it's important to look back at the lore of Three Houses. Rhea only decided to form the church and to begin her controlling reign over the people of Fodlan after the conflict between the Nabateans and the Agarthans. Sothis came to Fodlan far beyond the events of the main plot, and she would gift the people of the earth with her knowledge of magic, and the humans and Nabateans would generally live in peace. Humans began to wage war amongst themselves for power, but they would eventually turn their attention to destroying the Nabateans so that they can become the most powerful group in all of Fodlan. During the war, the land was razed, and the goddess would work to restore it over a great many years. Sothis used up almost all of her power in restoring the land to the way it was, so she needed to rest to regain her power. And while she was resting, the Agarthans, the group of people who had attempted to destroy the goddess in the war, commissioned a bandit leader named Nemesis to kill Sothis while she was recovering in her tomb. The Agarthans then used her bones to create the Sword of the Creator, and her heart to make the Crest of Flames. Nemesis massacred the Nabateans living in the Red Canyon to use their remains to make more relics and crest stones for power. Only a few Nabateans would survive, Rhea being chief among them. Rhea would rally the remaining Nabateans and would commission the help of some humans led by Emperor Wilhelm, the future founder of the Etruscan Empire. Rhea would defeat Nemesis at the Taltian Plains, but anyone can clearly see that Rhea hasn't come out of the conflict entirely unscathed.
Tell me, Nemesis, do you recall the Red Canyon? You'll die in it! Die! Die! You took everything that I loved! He's gone now, Mother.
The Nabateans' conflict with the Agarthans and Nemesis would deeply cripple Rhea's psyche, leaving some resentment towards humans for committing such a tragedy, and a desire to create a world that would never allow for such atrocities to happen again, through creating a new system that would venerate the deceased Sothis. The genealogy of events within the lore of Fire Emblem Three Houses provides parallels and is the background under which most of the political strife is taking place within the main plot of the game. The underlying forces behind the conflict within the main plot are ultimately resultant from the Nabatean-Agarthan conflict that happened those countless years ago, because they provide the context under which Rhea's system is built, as well as perpetuating the underlying opposition to her system. The relationship between Rhea and Edelgard is also informed by the aforementioned history of Fodlan being contextualized as an inevitability. While I talked about how similar Rhea and Edelgard were in my video analyzing Edelgard, I think there is one interesting difference between the two that makes them quite distinct. When dealing with loss and trauma, Rhea would look to the past, while Edelgard would fixate on the future. This creates a dynamic where both characters don't look towards their actions in the present, instead only focusing on their respective goals of reviving a lost past or creating a brighter future. And thematically within the narrative, it fits both of their roles, with Rhea serving as the figurehead of the status quo, trying to safeguard the essence of a past long gone, and with Edelgard serving as a revolutionary who wants to do away with the antiquated values to make a better world. And their conflict as such fits the natural flow of history, where a given power structure will exist, and then after a period of degeneration, that structure will be challenged and inevitably destroyed, soon to be replaced by another. The Song of the Nabateans seems to reflect the transient and cyclical nature of history. In the song, time is dynamic, much like a river, and within said river, an observer can see reflections of flames burning away at the memories of others. The song, which was written by Sothis, reflects the transient nature of all creations and memories, and that flames of revolution will inevitably come to destroy them. And it seems that those very memories themselves are what allow for the flames to burn. The song shows how the history of Fodlan is what allowed for the creation of a figure like Edelgard. The song reveals how misguided Rhea is in desperately clinging to the past because the flames of someone like Edelgard are inevitable. It's ironic how even though Rhea frequently sings Sothis' song, she doesn't really understand the context of the lyrics and what they really mean. There are also some interesting details about Rhea revealed within the Cindered Shadows DLC that are worth talking about. Firstly, the Chalice of Rejuvenation was a continuation of Rhea's obsessive quest to bring her mother back, and just shows literally how monstrous such a pursuit was in the creation of the Umbral Beast. What's more interesting, however, is the fact that she created such a place as Abyss, and that she restricted technological advancement in Fodlan. While it initially seems pretty reprehensible that Rhea would have a bunch of misfits living under Garreg Mach like sewer rats, there is some good to be found in her doing so. Dimitri points this out when he finds it nice that
incredible, really, that those who face depression on the surface are able to find sanctuary here. Oh, not to say that there's no helping the situation in Fodlan. To do just that is our duty and our honor. Even so, I find the idea rather lovely.
So, Rhea does seem to have consideration for people of all different walks of life by creating an environment that can give those people a place to belong, even if it's not the best type of scenario. Rhea also did ban certain technologies from Fodlan, however, such as anatomy, oil, scopes, and the printing press. And looking at all the technologies that she banned together, one can clearly see that she banned such advancements to reinforce the authority of the Church, and to keep humans from becoming too advanced again, like the Agarthans. Abyss seems to reveal a lot of things that don't really reflect well on Rhea, but it's clear that her actions aren't malicious, and while she's well-intentioned, her controlling behavior does more harm than good. Within the Crimson Flower route, Rhea seems to completely lose her mind in her pursuit to punish the failed progenitor god Byleth and the humans that rose up against her. While her actions in the route are odious to say the least, her history with humans and her mother allow us to understand why she became so ruthless. Sothis served as the only thing that Rhea sought to bring back into the world, and the closest being that she had to her mother openly denounces and fights against her, Byleth then serving as a twisted reflection of Sothis to Rhea. Rhea also saw the humans betray the children of the goddess time and time again, even though the children of the goddess had done nothing but help them. And after creating an entirely new system that not only forgave those who attempted the Nabatean genocide, but rewarded them by creating a new hierarchy which placed them at the top, it's easy to understand why Rhea would feel so horribly betrayed. Pair that with her already deteriorating mental state, and it's easy to see how she would degenerate to such a radical degree. Although Rhea's actions can be understood and even sympathized with, it's clear that within the context of the Crimson Flower route, she is fundamentally a villain. Ignoring the weird incestual implications of marrying your dragon grandmother, the ending of Silver Snow and Rhea's support with Byleth show just how redeemable she can be if she realizes the error of her ways and has the support to help her come to such a realization. In her support, at the end of Silver Snow, Rhea comes to understand that her yearning for her mother's return was an irrational desire, and that she ended up harming the world in pursuing such a goal. She learned that she couldn't have everything returned to the way it was before Nemesis, but she could find the same support and light that her mother had provided her with in Byleth. And while her dream to resurrect her mother hadn't exactly come true, she had witnessed the return of her guiding light in the form of Byleth.
You are here, Mother.
Hey, to all of you who made it this far, thanks for watching, and thank you to everyone who supports this channel through subscribing or leaving comments. If you've made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, feel free to do so because more content is coming. And as usual, let me know your thoughts on the video and what you'd like to see next.